bulking, nutrition, what to eat to add size. So I get this question quite a lot, and I get a lot of people and a lot of clients coming to me wanting to add muscle, add size, but they simply don't know what to eat or how to train. But this video is going to be solely about the nutrition side of things. So here's exactly what I do for myself and for my clients, and we're going to talk about the types of foods that you can incorporate into your diet that's going to help massively when you are trying to build muscle. So the first thing we're going to talk about is protein. So how much protein should you be eating? So for me and my clients, it was always going to be 1.1 to 1.2 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So for example, I weigh 250 pounds currently, and I'm eating 300 gram of protein a day, which seems like a lot, but you simply need it to build muscle. So when you're looking for protein sources, so for me, I eat pretty much whole food diet. Apart from say whey protein, the rest of my diet is pretty much whole food. So it's a lean meat, so chicken, beef, fish. That's what I eat each day. So I have 200 gram of chicken a day, I have 200 gram of beef a day, beef mince, and I'll have 250 gram of fish per day. You can also get your protein from Greek yogurt, things like this, and obviously whey protein. So that's where the majority of my protein comes from each day. So I'll have my whey protein in the morning with my oats, I'll have chicken post-workout, I'll then have another bowl of oats in the afternoon, which is another load of whey protein. I'll then have fish just before dinner, I'll then have beef later on, and then I'll have my Greek yogurt later before bed. So that's where I'm getting the majority of my protein from. Next up, we're going to talk about carbohydrates. So this is the one and the main macro that is going to go up throughout your bulking phase. And this is where the types of carbohydrates come into play massively. So again, for me, it's all whole food, but you've got to think of food volume here. Okay. So when you are dieting, for example, you are eating foods that are higher in volume. So you're going to be eating more potatoes, for example. Whereas when you're bulking, because your calories are a lot higher, you don't need that food volume. You don't need to fill your stomach up more because you've got the calories already when you're bulking. So this is where the food volume comes into play. And this is where I like to use a lot of the lower volume foods that aren't going to blow your gut out and fill you up too much and then you're too full for your next meal. So you got to look at things that are very, very low in volume but high in carbs. So this is where your honey and your jam come into play. So I'm very, very big on chucking this around the training window. So especially like post-workout. So at the minute, like for me, post-workout, I'll have my chicken, I'll have rice. So when I'm in a diet phase, for example, I would have chicken and potato because it's more volume. When I'm in a bulking phase, like I said, I'll have chicken, I'll have my rice, and then I'll squirt on a load of honey over my chicken and rice. So I have literally 80 gram of honey at the minute, and then I'll have 60 gram of jam on rice cakes. So I'm getting a lot of calories in that honey and in that jam for what that's going to do in my stomach. Like I'm not going to feel that at all. Like it's not going to bloat me. It's not going to sit heavy on my stomach, but I'm getting a lot of calories from something that's essentially very, very low in volume but high in calorie. Okay, so that's where the types of foods come into play. So I'm able to push my calories a lot higher just from adding a load of honey onto meals, like in my oats, for example, my post-workout meal. Like if you're having things like cream of rice, you can chuck a load in there. So the types of foods matter because you don't want to be blowing your gut out and feeling full. Essentially, the aim is to all the foods to sit well, but you're getting a lot of calories in. So the types of carbs matter a lot. So you want foods that digest well and not going to sit heavy on the stomach. So that's the key thing with carbohydrates, because they are going to get high. Like I was eating over 1,000 gram of carbs a day at one point in my last off season, which was, I'm getting close now. I'm on like 800 gram, I think, off the top of my head. But a lot of that comes from low volume food, low volume carbohydrates that I very rarely feel bloated and I don't have it sitting on my stomach. So the carbohydrates and the types of carbohydrates are key, again, if you're going to have a successful bulking phase. Okay, so choose wisely when it comes to the types of carbs you are eating. And then lastly, the types of fats you want. So for me, when I'm structuring my own kind of nutrition and for clients, I always opt for a high protein, a high carb, and then a low fat diet. So the fats don't really change too much in the amount, but the types of fats stay the same. So for me, especially when bulking, I try and limit dairy so it doesn't really sit too heavy on my stomach. So things like your cheeses and stuff like that, I try to avoid. But I'm very big on dark chocolate and nut butters, eggs. I like to chuck in there, avocado, things like this. So all kind of whole foods, or say the dark chocolate, but it's around 70%. But the majority of them, again, need to be coming from whole foods. So I put dark chocolate, peanut butter in my oats in the morning. So I'm getting a good start to the day with some nice healthy fats in there. You can chuck eggs in, again, superfood for me. Unfortunately, I am intolerant to eggs though, so I can't have them. But for my clients, like eggs are great. Okay, they're high in protein and they're also a good healthy fat. So eggs would be a staple in there. So yeah, I would have them in in there if I could eat them, basically. And then things like your avocado are great as well if you like those. So the fats very rarely change. I very rarely push fats too high. I think the highest I've had my fats before were around 80 gram a day. So I always like to keep the fats relatively low. So yeah, that's what I do with my fats at the minute. I'm eating around 50 gram at the minute, and then it will probably push up to around 80 at the back end of my kind of bulking phase. So yeah, that's what I kind of do with my fats. So yeah, that's what your bulking nutrition for me should look like. So we want to be having at least 1.1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. As your body weight rises, you may need more protein, so just bear that in mind. Your carbohydrates are going to get high, so choose wisely of what you're having. Carbs that sit well, low volume foods, these are all great when you are essentially bulking up. So try to avoid dirty foods that are just going to sit on your stomach and not digest very well and just screw your digestion up, basically. And then fats, just keep your fats nice and healthy. Try and avoid dairy if you can, in my opinion, and just stick to, say, dark chocolate, eggs, and peanut butters. But yeah, hope that helps. So if you are bulking at the minute, definitely take some of these points on board, and I hope it helps you gain a shitload of muscle. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.